For this episode of Let's Talk Jinx, we're doing patch 12.17 notes, because every 2 weeks we talk about the patch, and the notes are out, even though it might be delayed one day from when the patch actually hits, because on the 5th, it was Labor Day in the States, which is a holiday, kind of. Anyways, in this patch, there were no direct changes to Jinx, and it's funny because they do mention that the Worlds patch will be the next patch, 12.18. So this is not the Worlds patch just yet, if you're curious about that, but it is coming in 2 weeks, which will be interesting. That being said, some of the changes that might affect Jinx will be other AD carry changes because of the matchup changes, like Ezreal, for example, with his E cooldown being decreased because they say he's kind of lost his place in pro play and solo queue, maybe because of his distaste for maps, so we're shifting him into a stronger place by buffing his E to create more windows for clutch defensive and offensive plays. Personally, I don't like seeing Ezreal all that much. It's not even like a hate for the champion, and I do even play the champion myself, but in pro play, when there's like 14 other AD carry picks that are better, pro players still pick Ezreal. So it's funny that they mentioned that he's lost his place in pro play. I was watching the LCK playoffs, and that happened, where it's like, I think it was Deft of all people, as a matter of fact. It's like, you could have picked Jinx, and you picked Ezreal, and you got bodied. So, I mean, that's, you know, just, Ezreal maybe does need to be stronger if I take my bias out, sure. But if you're Jinx, right? Pro players, one of the reasons they like Ezreal and why I brought that all up is because they like that Ezreal's safe enough to allow their support to roam. Depending on your elo, your support might never roam, in which case this can be significant for an offensive move if he's trying to use this to like try and get around your flame chompers and stuff. So if you have been relying on that to keep Ezreal at bay, just keep in mind that you might not be able to as easily because it will be up a bit more often. It's only about 2 seconds and he's probably not going to max this first. Obviously the Q and even the W have more significance, but still, over the course of a laning phase, 2 seconds adds up eventually. So there you go, keep that in mind. As we continue our scroll, we see Misfortune is getting a Q base damage being increased late, cast time adjusted. The W mana cost is being decreased, attack speed bonus increased, E cooldown increased, base damage decreased, AP scaling increased, and now scales with AP. The AP scaling is increased, but now also, slow now scales with AP. I misread that, I'm sorry. So it looks like they're trying to expand her builds again, because Lethality has always been kind of an OP build whenever she's meta, and kind of gets back into being like her main build. They want her to be able to do crit and stuff, so again, even in the notes they're saying recently her crit builds have been a bit weak, while her Lethality builds opt into spamming E in lane to utilize her double knockups. So they're kind of doing a couple of things and shifting it around to see if they can make the crit build and stuff a bit more viable. What this means for you is that if it ends up being viable, Misfortune might not be so much of a lane bully if you're Jinx, because they might not be going for that AP, or not AP, but Lethality build. What it might mean is instead they're also going to be scaling for crit, so they might still be able to bully in lane with double tap and stuff, of course, or double up. I keep saying double tap because of her passive, my bad. But what it does mean is that overall the matchup might shift into you both trying to scale into the late game instead of she kind of bullying you and you trying to survive for your life, which could be interesting because then late game it also means you gotta watch out for ultimate and stuff. You're not gonna be the only crit machine in the game. But in the laning phase, what it basically means is also stay away from minion waves if you're new to the game, because what double up does is if it hits a minion wave, or hits a minion I should say, and the minion's low on health, it'll bounce off that minion towards you if you're close enough, or another minion. So if you stay away from the minion wave, it kind of wastes the ability, and that's a lot of mana that particular ability costs. Nami, meanwhile, right below, E electrocute interaction removed. Apparently there was an interaction with the with Tidecaller's Blessing working with electrocute, as in the rune. So electrocute Nami has been Lucian's best friend, giving that they could quickly proc Nami's electrocute with Lucian's Q double auto combo. We're now changing how Nami's E counts towards electrocute to be more in line with similar abilities. This should make Nami viable with other pairings. Besides, fish and electrocutions never go swimmingly. Haha. But basically what they're saying is part of the reason Nami Lucian's been so strong is because she could proc it with Lucian's double up auto attack combo, and if they change this and kind of remove that interaction, maybe Nami could also be better with other champions like Caitlyn. Caitlyn Nami is like an OG bully lane. So, you know, welcome back, Sniper. So there we go. If we continue scrolling down, we have Sivir, right? The AD growth is decreased, the W bounce AD ratio decreased. Sivir's mid-scope changes basically were really good at what they did, and a bit too good at what they did, so they're kind of reducing it a little bit. With that being said, if you're going against a Sivir, it looks like the AD growth is going from 3 to 2.8, which over time will eventually get less and less. In the laning phase, it's not probably going to affect the Jinx Sivir matchup too much, unfortunately, but there's that. The bonus damage AD ratio is going from 30, 35, 40, 45, 50% to 20, 25, 30, 40, and 45% total AD. So that's an interesting 5% fall off. So especially without the bonus AD, that's going to be quite effective, especially later in the game. But again, for the laning phase, you can still make use of your range. The one thing in the mid scope that didn't change with Sivir is her short range. You are Jinx with a rocket launcher. Don't spam your rockets. You want to conserve your mana as much as possible when you need them for flame chompers and even your ultimate post 6. But you can like shoot out a couple of rockets every now and then to bully the enemy laner. That is an effective strategy to kind of chip them down bit by bit, especially if they're just going to eat the rockets anyways and not dodge. If we go further down, we see that's kind of it for actually champion changes, supports, and AD carries that might affect Jinx. Quick note, there are some stopwatch changes. The cost is being increased for stopwatch by 100, so it increased Guardian Angel's cost by 100, and then things like Seeker's Arm Guard and Zhonya's Hourglass, things that have stopwatch in it, all their costs are basically going up. Now with Zhonya's Hourglass, the ability power is going up. You don't probably build this on Jinx, but it is going up, and I believe that means on Guardian's Angel, because the cost is going up, the attack damage is actually going up to 45 from 40. So there's that. Oh, my bad. It's not 100 gold. It's going up by 200 gold. But still, you're getting some attack damage on it. So maybe that will make it feel a little bit better if you're someone that feels like this item is kind of necessary right now to play Jinx. Honorable mention to Viego, Blitzcrank, Jace, and Lee Sin. None of which are AD carries, but you might see them more in your games because of these skins and people wanting to play them. Blitzcrank in particular being a support, so you might have to play with and against some Blitzcranks for the first couple days of the patch. Now, a thing we used to do was like an AD carry tier list and kind of decide, you know, what AD carries, you know, went where and stuff like that. That's kind of for you to decide in the comment section down below more than anything else. But if I did give my quick thoughts to kind of get that going, I feel like Jinx is in an interesting spot where she's not bad. I'm a little bit afraid of her getting a buff of any kind, even if she was, because they just have to nerf her for the preseason afterwards and probably just leave her there going into the next season. And I'm biased if I want Jinx to be just good at the start of the next season rather than be super awesome for Worlds, because Worlds is where like all the best like players are going to be playing, and watching the best players play your favorite champion really well can be kind of fun. But let's take this Ezreal change, right? I was clowning on Ezreal earlier. Honestly, though, he does need help. So he definitely wasn't S tier before this change. And I don't think this change makes him S tier now. But what I do think this change does is open up opportunities for people that are good with Ezreal to make him look like he's like A tier at least, you know what I mean? If you're not good with Ezreal, this change probably won't save you all that much, especially if you're trying to go too aggro with it. And it's a really good, you know, get away ability if your flash is down. There's that. The other Misfortune change, for example, these will be interesting because I don't know if this really changes Misfortune's position on any tier list. We have to look at Mobalytics and stuff like that when they make their videos. But the thing that is interesting is it does open up more play styles. So if you like Misfortune, you main Misfortune, you're like, we could use a little bit more crit in this setup. Instead of lethality, you could build crit and hopefully it feels better. You can even build AP, or at least like a mixed build, if you will. So it's like a AD physical damage build and AP magic damage build combined. And you know, that might feel a little bit better too. So I don't know if it really makes the Misfortune like, oh, now she's OP, she's S tier, right? The scalings and stuff aren't necessarily that ridiculous, but it does open pathways. So I don't know how tier list really would rate that. For me, it kind of puts her in like a good, at least like B tier. At least B tier though, because like when a champion's flexible, it means there's a lot they can do, and tier wise, in terms of straight power, you know, the physical damage is going, you know, it does have AP scaling now on the double up. You know, it's the slow now scales with AP as well. Strut is even getting some increased movement speed. So these are kind of buffs across the board that if she was like B tier, you'd move her to A tier probably. But again, I feel like it's a flexibility thing more than anything else. So it's really up to you in the comments to decide. Sivir's an interesting one because if Sivir was like S tier, and she was when she came out, pros were playing her immediately. You saw her in solo queue, all these things, right? They've nerfed her a couple times now since then. So I don't think she's S anymore, especially after these changes come in, because they don't want her to be too weak. Obviously, Worlds is coming up. They're not trying to gut her. So what I'm basically saying is a lot of champions were like maybe B tier going to A tier, or S tier dropping down to A tier with these changes that are coming in, right? We go, oh, I guess Taric is a support, and we missed him in the actual change. Base magic damage, resist decrease, and the E cooldown is being increased, actually. So Taric has been a little bit too dazzling in bot lane. Interesting. So if you're playing with or against a Taric, his stun is not going to be up as often. It's 1 second increase on all levels. And the base magic resist that he has is going down, so he will be able to be bullied by enchanters and mage supports a bit more. Keep that in mind. There we go. But back to like the tier list, that's really kind of it. That's all the changes really for AD carries and stuff like that too, right? So again, in the comment section down below, comment with what you think will change, won't change, your tier list, and let's have a conversation. But that's all from this video from me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification, the actual subscribe button. But I don't know which video will be next, because I'm going to have a lot of kinks. So until this time, take care. ggGetJinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.